Hi everybody, I'm Carl with Wyoming Mountaineers Lapidary. Today we're going to talk about worn out stuff. Things like these spear cups. These are used when you're using your spear machine to make spears. You can see here I have a nice about 1.5 inch ball turning. This is going to be a really pretty spear when I'm done. It's in the polish stages, but even in the polish stages, this is what you get when you're complete. This is a very unusual piece of island agate. So, the problem with making spears is you wear stuff out. This little cup that's used for about 2-inch spears is about half worn out. These diamond segments here, they get really worn down, and when you get down to the base metal, you have to replace them. And what I want to do is make ginormous spears. Like this is a beautiful piece of tiger iron. It'll make about a 3-inch spear. It'd be really nice. This stuff really takes a good polish. So, in order to do that, we have to weld new diamond segments on my old, worn out spear cups. So, follow along. Let's take a look at how we do this. Okay, to start with, we'll look at the equipment that I use. Now, you can do this with the torch, and if you need, I can shoot a video on doing this same process with the torch. This is a much cleaner way and a much faster way to do the same job as a torch would do. What this is this is an induction welder. Okay, induction welders create a lot of heat within the coils, so you have to have cooling. This is a cooling tower, so basically it's full of a coolant similar to antifreeze. It gets pumped out of the coolant into the welder, circulates around the coils, keeps everything in the electronics cool, comes back out, goes back in through basically a little radiator with a fan blowing on it. Then it's dumped back into the tank and the whole process starts again. So, like I said, this is an induction welder. What an induction welder does is you have these coils. Now, the coolant's also flowing through these coils because they get hot. And you don't want to melt your copper. This is just standard copper tubing. I had to make this little wand here to do what I needed to do. Normally they'd have one that you could surround this with, but then you're heating the whole thing, and if you already have a few segments on like I do, you'll melt that solder, that silver back out of them, and they'll fall off while you're trying to get the rest of them on. So it's better to spot heat. So what this will do is create a magnetic field, just like in an electric motor. The magnetic field pulses back and forth, which creates electrons. It makes the electrons move within the metal, and the metal gets hot. You can actually get it hot enough with enough of these coils to melt this steel, and you can melt your diamond segments. And since we don't want to do that, we're going to avoid that by using it in a vertical position. It'll create a magnetic field just in this small area, and you'll see this start to glow red, and then I can put my segment on with a little bit of hard silver solder. Now, this is not silver plumbing solder, okay? Silver plumbing solder has tin and antimony and all kinds of stuff in it that you really don't want. This is pure silver. It's very hard, and when it welds, it's more like brazing than soldering, even though it's the same kind of solder process. Now, to keep everything so that it solders and welds, bonds real well, you need a little bit of flux on the diamond segment and on the cup, and that flux basically cleans everything and gives a little barrier that will keep the silver from oxidizing. So the other thing I'm using is these little hot tweezers is what they call them. They're normally for soldering jewelry, but I use it for this. These will get red hot, so you don't want an expensive pair of tweezers or forceps, because forceps are a real weak alloy and they will get to the point where they won't hold your segments. So now that you got the basics of what I'm doing, let me show you how I do it. Okay, here we go. I've got my diamond segment that has my flux on it. I've got my cup that has flux on it. And I've got my silver. We're gonna put silver on the segment, and then I'll turn the segment over. We'll heat the cup, and when it's ready, I'll set this on there. And the silver always flows to the hottest spot, since while I'm waiting for the cup to heat up, this will cool slightly. The silver will want to flow to the hotter part of the cup and attach itself. Now I've made little tick marks on my cup so that I know where to set my segments. You know, when you're a foggy old man like me, things get tough. And tough is what it's been lately. So, here we go. You can hear the machine beeping, and immediately that segment starts to heat up. You can see the flux turns white. It's drying all the water out. Beyond white, once the segment starts glowing red, the flux will turn clear, and then we apply our solder. Okay, now you can see I've got a nice little bubble of solder sitting right on top of that segment. Okay, we'll let it cool a little bit. I'll turn it over so that it stays down on the bottom while that's cooling. And then I'm gonna line up, I made this little jig. It's a fancy, fancy jig. A 2x4, an old bolt with the head cut off, and the cup screws to it, so that I can turn the cup as I need to get it lined up. So we apply our power once again. Immediately you can see that the steel is starting to heat up. You can see a little puff of smoke coming off. The flux will dry itself out, and then it will turn into that liquid state where it's shielded. Now you can kind of see the cup is turning red. I simply put my segment there, right where I need it. I hold it in place and I let the power off. And I just have to hold this for, you know, 5-10 seconds or so while that cup cools down and the solder cools down, so that it will solidify, and we have a nicely bonded diamond segment on there. Now these segments are they're a mutt. Let's put it that way. There is diamond, 80 grit diamond impregnated into these segments, okay? And they're bonded with other metals like copper, and there might be a little bit of silver in there, and I believe there's some tin in it. And to get it harder, they start adding like titanium and cobalts and things like that. In this case, it's titanium that they've added. So it makes it hard. While it's in a liquid state, they mix the diamonds in with basically blender. All the powders get mixed together. then they get compressed in a press, then they get shaped in this curved shape, and the ends are cleaned up and the edges cleaned up, and it goes in a mold where it's compressed even more and then heated a little bit. And so that makes everything solid. Then once it cools down, they pop them out and they sell them to me. Believe it or not, most of these are done in China. If you want, you can do this process yourself with a little hydraulic press. It's not a difficult process. Making the molds to get that shape is actually harder. But the process of making them isn't that difficult. And so when you buy these from China, they're like 80 cents a piece. They're not very expensive. So on the larger cups, I actually add more of these segments. I'll sometimes go to 5 or 6 instead of the 4. This size cup, 4 is sufficient. So let's see my magic one more time. We're going to stick this in here and get it heated up. If I can hold on to it. There, I got a hold of it. You can see it smoking, drying out that flux. And now the flux is going to turn liquid. The segment starts to turn red, and that's when we know to go. Now I actually take the power off as I'm putting the solder on, and then I can just bump it to heat it if I need a little more heat to melt a little more solder on. You can see this one's not cooperating very well. The solder ran down the side. So here we go. We'll turn it upside down. We'll bring our spear cup in. We'll start heating that. The magnetic field is strongest through the center of the copper coils. You don't necessarily have to be in the copper coils because it's a magnetic field. It's going to radiate out in all directions. There we go. We'll let that cool a little bit. Then I'll see if I can't get my thing up. I got them off. Now we'll let it cool down. And we have a spear cup that's just like brand new. It's not a hard process. It can be costly if you buy the segments from a United States dealer, but these are a special segment made just for cutting rock. Anything from a soft marble up to your hardest agates. And these are 80 grit. This is the first stage of the spear cups. So they need to be the coarsest because the spear is not perfect when it goes into the machine. The machine makes it a perfect spear. So you need something aggressive to cut the lumps and bumps out of this spear to get it nice and smooth around before you start going to your finer spear cups. So that's how we rebuild our spear cups. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll take my old man eyes off because you have to have them when you're an old man. But thanks for watching today. I really appreciate your support. I love helping you guys figure out how to solve little simple problems. So if there's anything you're interested in or need help with, either message me or put it in the comments below. And I read every comment and I'll respond to every comment. So well, let me know if there's something you're trying to accomplish and can't figure it out. Again, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe my videos. That's what keeps me up and going. And share it with your friends. This is a fun community. The Lapidary world is probably one of the funnest worlds you could belong to. From rock hounding to making beautiful cabochons and spears. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks again.